No, Timothy. I didn't say your coffee was bad. I just said it wasn't good. And I don't think it's your fault. I think it's the kitchen. Maybe I can fix this. Hey everyone, and welcome to Groove Builders, the show where we create together. I'm your host, Disorderly Cone, and in this episode, we're going to be checking out the Genesis Technologies coffee shop and telling you everything you need to know to get this thing built. Now, with this metal being a little bit thinner and the paint being so thick on this model, how well will it all go together? Will it actually go together? And what tools do you need to actually form all these little details? That's a great question. Let's get down to the workbench and take a look at our package.
And boom, there we have it. All of our pages needed to build our coffee shop. Yes, these do look a little bit different than what we're used to, but I think we can handle it. The first thing we're going to take a look at is how to build the exterior of our coffee shop. Then we'll take a look at how to build all the interior stuff like our counter and cash register. And finally, we'll talk about the outside details, the sign, and that bench. While there might not be a whole lot here, I think this metal might give us some challenges. And to form it, we're going to need some special tools. What tools are we going to need? That's a great question. Let's ask our tool expert. Timothy?
Finally, I will spare you the pleasantries. The coffee shop from Genesis Technologies is a deceptive build. While it might look easy, you will still need nippers, tweezers, pliers, doming tools, and a Bender 1.0 tool. Wait, what happens if I don't have a French press?
Thanks, Timothy. And don't worry, buddy. I'm pretty sure you're going to like this whole new setup. Now, as always, these are just our suggestions, and you really don't need anything but nippers and tweezers to get the job done. But of course, having the right tools will make everything a lot easier for you. All right, now we've looked at our instructions and we have all our tools. There's only one thing left for you to do, and that's to press that like and subscribe button. That's a little thumbs up and red button there. Don't worry, I'll wait. Yeah, it's just right there. Yeah. No worries. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We have all kinds of really cool projects coming out in the future, and to have you here, it's going to be really awesome. All right, now let's get down to the workbench and build our coffee shop.
The coffee shop from Genesis Technologies is a build that looks straightforward, but has some unexpected challenges. The first thing we start off with is some basic rectangles and some square bends. We can use our Bender 1.0 tool for the majority of our details to help us get that really nice 90-degree bend. However, I know a lot of people watching this might not have this tool at the moment. If you want to pick up one of these tools, links are in the description. Now, let's talk about how to bend this with some tweezers. As we begin to bend the edges of our parts, it's important to remember that we need to match up the sides as best as possible. We can do this by grabbing the parts right at the preparation line. By going right up to the line, we avoid warping our parts or unevenly bending our edges. We need to do this for every single one of our details here. Alright, these look really good. Let's go ahead and put them into the store. As we bring the tabs over to their insertion holes, you might find the holes either are covered by paint or the tabs appear to be too thick to go in. This is a result of the coloring process, and we can fix it pretty easily. To remove the paint from the insertion hole, all we need to do is take our tweezers and lightly press the paint out. When it comes to our tabs being too thick, we can go ahead and scratch some of the paint off by grabbing our tab and sliding the tweezers down. Be careful not to go overboard here, and it's sometimes a little bit easier said than done. When it comes to making our coffee shop outline, the tricky bits tend to be the corners. Not only do we need to shape this uniformly, but we also need to make sure the right parts go in the right place. When you bring our corner details, parts 5 and 6 over, it's important to make sure that the small gap is at the top. The details here can go on both ways, and if you're not careful, you'll put it on backwards and the roof won't be able to go onto our coffee shop. So check to make sure the small gaps are at the top. And now we can move on to the interior details. The inside of our coffee shop has a lot of interesting shapes that we need to achieve. We start off with our counter and then go on to the counter details. These details are very similar once you've built one, but they can be hard to do with the paint job we have here. To form the counter, it's just a matter of meeting up our edges. Once we've secured our tabs, if you have any edges popping out, we can go ahead and press them down just a little bit more. Because we have our tabs in place, forming this can be a little bit easier now. Alternatively, we could wait until all the details are on the counter before shaping it, but I find it this way might be a little bit easier. Speaking of counter details, let's look at part 9 together. We have two sides and a middle that needs to be bent. Let's bend the one side and then use it as a guide to shape our center. By using multiple small bends, we can get our shape without breaking the paint off, for the most part. Now we can move on to the bowl. Our bowl looks like a strip of metal, and all we have to do is just run our little tool here through it and we can get a nice uniform shape. If you have a pen at home, this can work just as well. Let's meet these edges up. Oh man, the paint is really coming off on this. I think it might be my gloves, but let's keep pressing on. Okay, now we just have some other small details to do which don't take too much time. Bendy, bendy, shapey, shapey, dachi, dachi, and there we go. All of our counter details complete. Let's move on to our chairs and floors. The chairs in this model tend to be a little bit more complicated than some of the other details we've done already. Personally, I found the right side of our part first, thinking that the white is not what you want to see. Even with my part being in the proper orientation, there's just enough metal to be able to make it all the way around the edge of our chair. Try not to pull too much on these because you will take the paint off, but you will need to use a little bit of force, so there's going to be some give and take here. Little more stretchy, and boom! There we have it, our chairs. Now let's put all of our details we formed into our shop. Just like before, if you're having a hard time getting your tabs in place, we can strip some of the paint off of our tabs with the tips of our tweezers, or poke the holes. When putting our tabs in place, be very careful not to scratch the paint on the floors. It's extremely easy to do, and because everyone's going to be looking at this from the top down, any scratches on the floors will be very visible. After our tabs are finally in place, we can secure them with a twist. Boom, 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 boom! All good. Now let's bring our sides over. Being very careful not to scratch the details that we've just bent, we can lower the top down and secure it one tab at a time. Twisty, twisty, and boom! Let's work on our roof. We start with our sign. Personally, I found the metal here to be a little bit thin, so if you need to use two tools to make everything bend properly, don't be afraid to do so. First, let's grab our letters, and then we just need to bend this little piece of metal down 90 degrees. Once we do this to all the little bits of metal, we can bring it over to the main sign and try to get our tabs into their insertion holes. Once in place, go ahead and give them a twist. Don't worry, we're not going to see these tabs. For the cylindrical bends on our side, I'm going to use my dapping set here with a rolling action. Alternatively, you can use a marker at home and you should get a similar effect. Push them back just a little bit. I think this sign is looking pretty good. And if your letters are squished, don't worry. Just put your tweezers behind them and give them a little push out. They should look just fine. Our sign will be supported by these two little details on the back. And after we have them all secured, we can go ahead and push these guys right into the top of our roof. After shaping and forming our lamps, we connect these with a nice little twist, and now we can work on our outside details. All the details that need to be formed on the outside we've already done before except for our bench. Let's take a closer look at that. We start by slightly bending our centerpiece and then bring over our sides. We can adjust how much we need to bend our centerpiece by using the sides to gauge. Once everything is lined up, make sure the red sides are facing out before connecting our bench together. Not so bad, eh? Okay, let's go ahead and put all the rest of this together.
And there we have it, our coffee shop from Genesis Technologies. This build was pretty fun to put together, although that paint definitely made it a little trickier than I was expecting. You see, this paint is not like any of the other ones we have here on our wall. This is actually painted with some kind of really thick, I guess, acrylic paint. And because of that, when it comes to bending our different pieces, if you're not careful, you'll accidentally chip our paint, which takes away from the model, especially something as colorful as this, which makes especially these little kind of curved pieces on the inside, like our bowl and some of these table parts, especially difficult to build. In my personal opinion, if you can avoid using gloves like I would totally do it. That little bit of added friction definitely aided in some of the paint coming off on this build. But overall, I really do like it. And I think that if you have an entire set of these set up in your home, you'll have a really awesome collection. Now, can I recommend this for new builders out there? Yes and no. While the difficulty in this build is not necessarily in forming the details, it's actually getting the paint to stay on the pieces after you've bent it. So while an experienced builder might be able to sit back and delicately bend all the little details that need to be done, a new builder might have too much of a hard time getting these things in their proper place without having the paint fall off. Overall, I think that if you have a steady hand and you have a couple of models under your belt, this might be the one for you. But if you're brand new to the industry, you might want to wait on this one. Alright Groovers, I had a really good time building the coffee shop with you, and if you guys had a good time, don't forget to press that like button. For more videos like this, hit subscribe as well, as we have all kinds of really cool content coming out in the future, including other models just like this. Want to support the channel and build some really cool stuff too? Check out groupbuilders.ca. We have all kinds of really cool models on there at great prices with fast shipping to the United States and Canada, including new Metal Time stuff. Until next time Groovers, keep building. Alright Timothy, time to set up your new shop.